one of my other favorite topics, professional wrestling with something that is called WrestlePalooza. I'm old enough, Trey, that I remember wrestling on ESPN. WrestlePalooza goes back to the 90s, actually, I think, right? Paul Heyman and WWE and ESPN working together on this one. That right there ignited, I think, the fire under the modern era of pro wrestling. The WWE and ESPN partners now on a 5-year, $1.6 billion deal that is going to put WWE's premium events on ESPN, ESPN Unlimited, which is ESPN's new streaming service. It is going to include what used to be, back in my day, the pay-per-view events. I'm of the pay-per-view era. WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, King of the Ring, Survivor Series, all of that good stuff. Well, those things are now considered to be premium events. ESPN is now going to be the source for this, and WWE and ESPN are kicking off this new alliance tomorrow in Indianapolis at the Gamebridge Fieldhouse with something that is called WrestlePalooza. Yeah, that's right. WrestlePalooza, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be on the ESPN Unlimited plan on the ESPN app. And we got John Cena and Brock Lesnar, two of the greatest legends of the modern era in professional wrestling, will be facing off there in the showdown that everybody has their eye on. And to help me break it down and talk about the state of professional wrestling today, and in fact, just talk about our mutual love of pro wrestling, is Outkick senior college sports reporter and a man who is still NWO for life, my brother Trey Wallace. Trey, how's it going, man?
It's good, dude. It's good. I'm a little agitated that I have to pay extra for ESPN Unlimited now. I thought I was good with my ESPN Plus, but turns out I'm not, so I have to pay $30 extra, or I can just turn into a pirate. I'll make that decision tomorrow afternoon sometime. So, yeah, it's in honor of Michael Each. Michael Each. That's how we'll praise him tomorrow. So, yeah, this is a fun weekend, brother. Like, I hate that, because AEW is running the show tomorrow as well, and they're running their big show All Out, and so I hate that we have both on the same day, but it's fine. AEW is going to run in the afternoon. WWE will run at the night. And I'm interested to see what they do with ESPN. I would imagine a lot of surprises. I think that Brock versus Cena is going first tomorrow night, where Brock can just get on his private jet and get back home because he doesn't like hanging around with anybody, which might actually be good for the folks backstage. I'm just going to throw that out there. And then at the same time, AJ Lee's back. You got CM Punk, Seth Rollins. So it should be a lot of fun tomorrow night. I'm actually excited to see what they could come up with besides the stupid name.
Yeah, so WrestlePalooza goes back to is it the early 2000s? Or it goes back to the 90s, actually, I think, right? Paul Heyman and ECW. And this is the first WrestlePalooza, I believe, in something like 22 years, somewhere in that ballpark. So they've resurrected Paul Heyman's brainchild here. What do you think about the name WrestlePalooza?
I think that there were people freaking out because ESPN came to WWE and said, "Hey, we want to give you a lot more money and we want you to start this contract early. By the way, we need a name to call this thing." And somebody was sitting in the WWE offices and they're like, "All right, well, we were supposed to start this deal with WrestleMania, so what can we call it? The Palooza, Lollapalooza was just happening, so they just threw the damn name together at the last minute. And they came off the WrestlePalooza. Like, it's not bad. I mean, we've got events, Hell in the Cell, Bad Blood, King of the Ring, SummerSlam. I could go In Your House. Like, it's probably better than, hey, WWE In Your House. So I mean, I guess I'll take it. It's fine. It's different. And for a 3 hour, I don't know how long it's going to be. Probably going to be 2 hours, I would imagine. Maybe 3. I don't know. But for something to come together kind of this quick, which It kind of did. If folks kind of do a little digging on it, I think they got it all right. Like, whatever. It's fine. I'll deal with it.
I'm old enough, Trey, that I remember wrestling on ESPN.
Yes.
Years ago, back in the AWA had a deal with ESPN, and so it was not the greatest era for the AWA that they had ever had during that time either.
Because they had Kurt Hennig. I remember Kurt Hennig wrestling on AWA. Because I remember growing up, I go back and watch some of the stuff because it would air like late at night. So like Kurt Hennig was in it. The early days of like Hulk Hogan were sporadic through there. So I mean, there was a lot of fun wrestling with AWA, but it was more like what they did with. Remember when Turner used to do their shows down there at Disney? You know, so there's like 500 people there, and they're rotating them in. So. But yeah, I mean, look, it's neat, and I think ESPN getting involved in this, it's a lot different, obviously, than UFC, Ricky. You know what I mean? Like this is, I'm very curious to see how they're going to cover this, because that to me like is going to stand out the most. How much access they give, press conferences, I think will probably make a little bit more of a comeback, not after every event, but talking about real life situations. And look, ESPN's spending a lot of money to get this deal done, which wasn't supposed to start until WrestleMania, you know, in April. And then they moved it up and Peacock couldn't come back at them. So, yeah, I mean, I who knows what we're going to get, but I think we both can agree. I think the last 4 years of professional wrestling with WWE and AEW, want to give them a shout out as well, has really changed the dynamic and brought a lot more fans back into it, including myself.
Yeah, I think competition is good for the business. What made the 1990s, late 1990s era, early 2000s era so special is you had WCW and WWE just going at it, man. I mean, it was cutthroat competitive. You had both companies trying to lure guys from the other company to theirs, and you know, obviously the invasion angle of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, Diesel and Razor Ramon at that time in the WWE, making their way down to Georgia, which is the best idea that Eric Bischoff has ever had in his entire life. That right there ignited, I think, the fire under the modern era of pro wrestling.
But see, I want to throw something at you here. Like everybody talks about Hall and Nash joining WCW and kind of shaking things up, but a lot of people forget Lex Luger showing up at Mall of America on the first ever Nitro and walking out the day after he had appeared on a WWF event. So, like, I give the credit to Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, but you got to remember the true OG that did it was Lex Luger when he just walked out with that puffy, like, Seinfeld shirt, the white one, and just stood there and looked at the ring. I was like, what the hell is he doing there? Okay, like, this is neat. So just shout out to the original.
Yeah, shout out to Lex Luger there. Human torture rack. I've put my daughters in the human torture rack so many times through the years. That was my go-to move back when, wrestling was still a thing that they wanted to do all the time.
I got in a lot of trouble growing up, by the way, for doing that. Like, by the way, like I'd put my friends in like chokeholds, and then I actually hurt one of my friends' neck. So then the mother calls my mom and like, why do you have the kid in a chokehold? Well, I don't know. You let me watch it the other night on television. So what do you think? So we'll leave it at that.
That's how all the rumors say. That Wallace boy, he's wild. You're gonna have to watch the Wallace boy. He's trouble. He's choking kids and everything else. All right, so Trey, any excuse to talk about pro wrestling and my favorites is always all right by me. So today, Trey, I'm going to let you go through this with me because we're going to do a Gimme 5 right now. My favorite wrestlers of all time. Gimme 5. And I suppose before we do mine, let's throw Stephen A. up because Stephen A. Smith inspired me to do this today. Obviously, we're no stranger to doing Gimme 5s, but He did his own 5, Stephen A. Come up with your own ideas, Stephen A., for God's sakes.
Yeah.
And here's his all-time 5. Take us through his 5 real quickly, Trey, and let me know what you think of Stephen A.'s opinion.
Why the hell does he have Goldberg on his top 5? Like that is horrible. Like, I'm sorry. That is torturous right there. Like, what the hell is Goldberg done? Like, right. At number 1, like that tells me that like Stephen A. just started watching this shit, like 15 years ago, and Goldberg's like come back. Like, give me a break. Goldberg at 1. Don't understand that. I
have never seen a man go undefeated for over 100 matches. Trey Wallace, the jackhammer and the spear are incredible.
Yeah, I still remember the call, by the way, in the Georgia Dome. Bobby the Brain Heenan going absolutely crazy with Tony Schiavone, Goldberg beating Hulk Hogan. So, look, I give him that. Like, WCW days was fine, but let's just be real honest with each other. He really only wrestled for about 2 years. So, the Ric Flair thing, Ric Flair is my GOAT, to be honest with you. Ric Flair is number 1 in my book. I think Hulk Hogan being in the top 5 is good just because of what he did. You weren't looking for 5-star matches out of Hulk Hogan, but what he did for the sport obviously deserves to be in the top 5. If I'm looking at that the correct way, I can't tell what is number 4. Oh, The Rock. So I would agree with The Rock because The Rock carried WWE, WWF, along with Triple H and others. And even when Shawn Michaels was going kind of out the door, cutting down on his matches, The Rock stepped up. He carried it through along with Stone Cold, by the way. So I don't have a problem with that one. And then if we're looking at let's see. Number 5 is, what is that? I don't even know what that says.
It's
Road
the
Warriors.
It's the Road Warriors.
Yeah. But what the hell is he doing?
Poor Hawk.
Poor
Hawk has been cut out of the photo.
Right. Yeah. Like, what does he have? Draws in there? Like, what is Stephen A. doing? How does he come up with this shit? Like, I'm telling you, he doesn't understand it. Right.
I believe.
I mean, just because we call it the Road Warrior pop doesn't mean you got to put him in your top 5. I'd put the Steiner brothers in over the Road Warriors if we're talking about tag teams. So, like, that's fine. Like, he can have his own, but that just tells me right there that is not a true wrestling fan. If you've got Goldberg and the Road Warriors in your top 5, he must be just out of his mind blitz coming up with that one.
All right, Trey. Now I'm going to give you I picked 6 as well. I did the Antonio Alfonseca extra finger here today. I figured if Stephen A. is going to get 6 people, he did a little 2-for-1 there at the end. I'm going to get 6 of my own. So let's go through a give me 6 here of mine with Trey and get his reaction to some of these names. I don't know who we're going with first. But
you name them, I'll roll with it.
All right, I've got a tie for 5th, and I picked Hulk Hogan because I feel like without Hulk Hogan, it's just impossible to tell the story of how wrestling became a nationwide phenomenon. You know, he was the guy that Vince McMahon hitched his wagon to when he basically ended the territory days of pro wrestling, where it was all regional and guys would move around the country from one place to another. And if you lived in Texas, you didn't know what was going on in the Mid-Atlantic, or you didn't know what was going on in Florida, unless you read the Bill Apter magazines, which I certainly did. Shout out to the Wrestler, Inside Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Oh, I loved them all. So I've got to give Hulk Hogan his due. It wouldn't feel right to leave him out. But as you said, you weren't really watching Hulk Hogan for 5-star matches. We didn't know what 5-star matches were back in my day. But Hulk Hogan, the charisma, he put asses in seats. That's the name of the business, really, at the end of the day. So I'll got to give him his love. My 15
seconds response to that is, if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan going to WCW, we would not have had the Monday Night Wars. We probably would have not had the NWO with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, because they would have probably gone with Sting if that even ever came to fruition down the road. So I'll give you the Hulk Hogan. And by the way, like, Hulk Hogan was my guy. Sergeant Slaughter, I still remember the WrestleMania 8 in Los Angeles and why they had to change it, because Slaughter was getting so many threats. They went from the Coliseum to indoors. So I agree with you on that one. That was a fun match. Probably one of my top 10.
and, showed his range late in his career. I thought he was a great heel as Hollywood Hogan. So,
Yeah.
he showed me something. I enjoyed heel Hogan more than babyface Hogan, but, the little Hulkamaniacs will always look up to red and yellow Hulk Hogan. All right, my other tie for 5 is a guy that's going to give you 5-star matches out the wazoo, and that's the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Trey, I put Michaels here because for me personally, and I say this with all respect for Ric Flair, who I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, Ric Flair's coming up on the list. He's in a higher spot. Okay, so no disrespect to Ric Flair when I say this, but I think for me, Shawn Michaels is my favorite in-ring worker in the history of the business. And I say that with respect for Ric Flair. I say that with respect for Bret Hart, for Kurt Hennig, a lot of guys that have been, Ricky Steamboat, a lot of guys I've seen that are great, great workers. But man, Shawn Michaels could work with anybody. He could make anybody's style look good. Wasn't always the biggest Shawn Michaels fan in terms of the way that I felt like he carried himself a lot of the time. And I don't just mean on screen, but he's a guy who seems to have matured a lot in his post-wrestling career. But Shawn Michaels, to me, is the gold standard in the ring, Trey.
I don't disagree with my brother. I don't. Shawn Michaels is in my Mount Rushmore, in my top 5. Badass wrestler. He was good before he even left the WWE with the back problems and took the shot from Mike Tyson. Shawn Michaels, man, just the GOAT, the Iron Man matches, what he did with Bret Hart was fantastic. Shout out to Bret Hart in his match with Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam where he won the IC title. Yes. I'm going to give you an early 90s throwback. But yes, Shawn Michaels, man, especially when he came back from the back injury, like my man was still rolling. I still remember him going up against Triple H at SummerSlam. So I agree with you on Shawn Michaels, bud.
All right, so Shawn Michaels. So there's my 2 for 1 at number 5. Number 4, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Ooh.
For me. I mean, who better on the microphone? I mean, this is the thing. Dusty again in the ring. The bionic elbow was great. Dusty was entertaining. But I mean, people look at him and they wouldn't understand. If you never saw Dusty Rhodes, if you never listened to Dusty Rhodes cut promos, he related to the fans as well or better, I think, than anybody that I ever saw. For me, when I think of the old NWA, because WCW to me, I go back to when it was the NWA. And so Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair, those two guys, for me, the dynamic between them, they weren't always working programs together, obviously, but Dusty Rhodes against the Four Horsemen in some capacity was always compelling stuff. Back when the NWA seemed more real, the WWE got into the entertainment side of things faster than the Southern wrestling did. And so it was a more realistic sort of alternative, I think.
I don't mean no disrespect to wrestling fans out there, but if you've never seen either A, the Four Horsemen, or B, Dusty Rhodes walk from the bullpen of a baseball stadium all the way out to the ring, through the grass, through the fans, even the Four Horsemen taking a helicopter and landing in the outfield, some of those events they used to run in the past, you don't know a damn thing about Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes was the man. His cage matches were fantastic. And again, what he did, even with Blackjack Mulligan, I mean, I could go on and on. Dusty Rhodes was the guy. And here's the thing, too. I had to go back and watch a lot of Dusty Rhodes, Ricky, because just my age, I wasn't old enough in the 80s to actually truly appreciate it. So I agree with you're getting on. I wouldn't have him in my top 5, but I'm not going to disagree with the point that Dusty Rhodes was the man, and especially a guy his size doing 60-minute matches and whatnot. He was the bell cow of the NWA,
and nobody else quite like him. I mean, he really was an original. There's nobody else that you can really put in the Dusty Rhodes bucket necessarily. All right, my number 3. Oh, yeah, the Macho Man, Trey Wallace.
Okay.
Dig it.
Okay, so that's a good one.
Yeah,
I mean,
hanging out on the pier.
I mean, how could you not respect the Macho Man for taking a cobra snake bite to the arm from Jake the Snake Roberts? How could you not respect him for the match against the Ultimate Warrior, the career match where he got beat, but then the ending is Miss Elizabeth running down the rails and getting in the ring with him? And then who could forget the Steamboat match at WrestleMania? I mean, come on, man. Like, the Macho Man, he was one of those characters, the mega powers. Yes, he will rightfully go down as one of the top performers and also wrestlers. That's a key term, not just performer, wrestler, I think, in the pro history. So I'm agreeing with you on Macho Man.
Yeah, and he's a guy, obviously he was great on the microphone. He was great in the ring, just an all-around talent, good as a heel, good as a babyface. There's nothing but respect for the Macho Man. May he rest in peace. Trey, number 2 on my list, Rowdy Piper.
Ooh.
Piper was my guy. Again, not the best in-ring worker. He's not known for having great matches, but maybe the best talker in the history of the business, at least as a heel, certainly up there. In a world where Ric Flair exists, it's going to be hard to be number 1 as the best talker. But Piper, for me, could get heat like few, if, maybe nobody in the business was better in the history of wrestling at getting heat. Maybe Vince McMahon. But it is a short list. I mean, he had to reinforce his leather jacket, Trey, because he had so many people try to stab him, through the years when he was coming up. He got the kind of heat that, put danger on him, which was, pretty common back in the 70s and 80s.
I'll tell you something. People talk about Shawn Michaels kicking Marty Jannetty and throwing him through the glass, but a lot of people forget about Roddy Piper knocking Jimmy Snuka over the head with the coconut. Like, that was one of the premier moments. And then I'll also throw another one at you that's underlying. Remember when Virgil was facing Ted DiBiase at WrestleMania and Roddy Piper came in and he was helping Virgil out to win the $1 million bet? The belt. It was some of the small things that Roddy Piper did along with his fantastic career in the ring. And it's probably one of the best heels, I think, overall, just best bad guys overall when he was really on. And then, you know what? When he had to flip it, when they needed that good guy, he delivered. So I like where your head is at. I wouldn't have gone there, but I like what you're doing, Ricky.
Yeah, he was a great foil for Hulk Hogan. I remember when I went to Starrcade 96, the main event was the Icons match, I think they called it. It was Roddy Piper against Hulk Hogan in the main event, and Piper beat him with a sleeper hold. And I I couldn't believe it, because how many times in your life, have you seen Hulk Hogan in a sleeper hold? They raise the hand once. It's, the arm's limp. They raise it a second time. It's limp. They raise it the third time, and, it comes down to here. And then it comes up. Well, you can't even see my hand on the camera, but and the next thing you know, you're going to be tasting a yellow boot in your face, and you're going to have a leg dropped on you, probably about 35 seconds later. But he beat him that night or whatever. And I remember being so stunned. Oh my God. First time I've ever seen Hulk Hogan not get out of a sleeper hold. So that's a memory for me.
That. Did Hulk Hogan forget he had creative control that night when he lost to Roddy Piper in a sleeper hold? Like, of all things.
Yeah. What happened there? He didn't.
Exactly.
That's not going to work for me, brother.
Yeah. Sorry, brother. Ain't working.
Famous for saying, he just kind of rubs his chin. That's not going to work for me, brother. And my number 1, no secret here, anybody that follows Super 70s, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, who I think overall, when you look at the entire picture, I would take Shawn Michaels over him in the ring. I might take Bret Hart over him in the ring. It's a very short list. I mean, the biggest argument you could make against him is he did a lot of the same spots in seemingly every match. That might be the only thing that would knock him down my list to maybe 3 or 4 as an in-ring worker. But he did those 60-minute Iron Man matches, back in the day when the house shows, Trey, when it was like, here, you're the NWA champion. Here's the belt. You got 27 matches this month in 24 different cities, and you're doing 60-minute Broadways, in just about all of them. That's which means a 60-minute time limit draw for those of you that aren't big wrestling fans. So to me, Flair overall, when you take he's number one all time on the stick. Nobody has ever been better on promos. And then he is certainly at the very near of the top as an in-ring performer. When you put it all together, I think he's the greatest to ever do it.
My man, a lot of people forget too that he was pulling double headers back in the day. He was hitting the 2:00 show, and then he was driving a couple hours and hitting the 7:00 show. So those 60-minute matches, man, sometimes it happened twice in one day. So look, Ric Flair, in my opinion, is the GOAT. For everything that he did, from the Iron Man matches to his promos to what he did in WCW to even his run with the WWF. And I'm talking about the second one, not the first one where he showed up at the Royal Rumble, became champ, and was pretty much gone within a couple of months. There are still matches. The girlfriend will wonder what the hell I'm doing late at night. Maybe I'm on YouTube checking out a Ric Flair match from the past, but having been able to see him multiple times growing up, wrestle in person, I tell you, it's a lot of fun. And you know what? We talk about the repetitive moves and everything, but you run your ass into a turnbuckle, flip yourself over, run across the apron, and then get thrown off the top rope every single night for your career and see how your ass feels the next day.
Yeah, Rick, look, the guy survived a plane crash too in the 70s. He was in a plane crash and broke his back and, did everything after that. I think the plane crash was like in 75, so pretty much everything that we know of Ric Flair happened after that.
You want to know what my and I know we got to go here to say, but my most intriguing moment of Ric Flair, and it has nothing to do with wrestling or anything like that. And I don't know if you're going to remember this, but there was a Monday Night Nitro, and the Ric Flair was battling with Eric Bischoff, and this was real life heat, folks. Like behind the scenes, they freaking hated each other. They were in Greensboro, North Carolina. Arn Anderson sitting in the ring with the other three Horsemen members, and Arn pulls the whole, oh, I forgot. We need the fourth horseman. Ric Flair comes running down, walking down to the ring. Greensboro Coliseum's going absolutely freaking crazy. That was the coolest moment, in my opinion, of Ric Flair's career. For some reason, I always go back and try to YouTube that. It was just, that was special. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, no, that tweet that we had up a couple of moments ago as well, the one of Rick standing in the ring, one of my proudest moments of the Super 70s era. Rick retweeted that one time with a big old woo. And
get out of here.
It doesn't get any better than that. He did. He came to your shitty gymnasium in your shitty town to defend that gold against your precious local hero. And guess what? He ain't leaving town without the strap or a blood alcohol level below 30. I got a woo out of that.
Yeah.
One
or
time
some
from
kind
the
of
nature boy himself.
Either that or a disease, one or the other. So it happens.
Yeah. Hey, maybe both. Reject the tyranny of or. If you're Ric Flair, you can do both those things. All right, Trey, while I got you here, before you go, it would be sacrilegious if I didn't ask you one football question on the way out. What do you got your eyes on this weekend? What are you most looking forward to seeing shake out on Saturday?
Yeah, the Michigan at Nebraska game is going to be a lot of fun, Ricky. Bryce Underwood, the $1 million freshman at Michigan, can he take care of Dylan Raiola on the road? I like Michigan to at least. I think Nebraska wins the game. I like Michigan to keep it close in the fourth quarter. Nebraska takes over. Obviously, Texas Tech versus Utah. Tomorrow at noon. That game is going to be on Fox. Texas Tech, everybody knows, has got the $35 million roster. Let's see if it comes to fruition. And then also, pay attention to Auburn at Oklahoma. Top 25 matchup tomorrow. John Matera, Heisman candidate. And I'll kind of give you, there's a little bit of a sleeper game out there. I am paying attention to Illinois versus Indiana. Shout out to our boy Dan Dockich as his Indiana Hoosiers look for the win. But tomorrow night, a lot of things can go crazy in college football. If Miami beats Florida, and I'm saying, but if Miami beats Florida by like 14, 17 points, it's going to get very dicey for Billy Napier down in Gainesville heading into a bye week. I'm not reporting that there's going to be a coaching change or anything, but if Florida gets embarrassed tomorrow night, keep an eye out on what's happening in Gainesville. So just going to throw that one out there at you, buddy.
I don't know. We'll have to see. Is Florida still in Haley Sawyer's top 25, Trey? Do you think another loss will finally knock them out of Haley Sawyer's? I don't know.
I would damn sure hope so. Oh, come on. It's all good. We had somebody on the West Coast last week voting for South Carolina, ranked number 11th, and they just got their ass beat by Vanderbilt by 24 points. So this AP voting thing, they need to start vetting these folks a little bit more, but that's a story we could talk about for like an hour. So I'm good.
All right. Well, Trey, listen, my pleasure as always. We got to talk some pro wrestling today, man. We've dabbled before, but we've never taken a deep dive like this. I really enjoyed it. Have a great weekend, my brother. I know you're on the mend there. You're looking good, man. Everything is great. So
feeling good. Ready for a fun weekend of college football and a little bit of wrestling on the side. I'll probably switch that order up tomorrow night, but it's all good, man. And I always appreciate coming on with you, and have a wonderful weekend.
All right, my brother. Take care. We'll see you again soon. I am sure. He is Outkick senior college sports reporter, NWO for life, by the way. I always want to make that clear. Trey Wallace. Tim, what about you, buddy? You know, like, I don't know. We've never really talked a lot of wrestling. Before we move on to NFL picks and such, I don't know. You got one or two wrestlers that you feel compelled to name check here on the program today?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me not to talk about JYD. Junkyard Dog was sort of an inspirational sort of guy. I thought, right? Was he the one with the bullet hole in his back? I can't remember. Huge fan though.
I don't think.
Yeah,
I
thought JYD had a little something in his back there. To me, Tony Atlas and Rocky Johnson were just an incredible display of athleticism, speed. Atlas was, what was he, Mr. Universe or something at one point, and Johnson tag teaming in. Look, I had the fortune, I told you, to see Andre the Giant. I'm surprised he's not on. I get it. Like Dusty Rhodes on with Trey, I had to go back and watch some old stuff of him. Hard not to love or hate Ric Flair. But I don't know. Honorable mention for me is Andre the Giant, only because I think he attracted some folks. We can go on. I'm sure Ron would mention Superfly Snuka, but you guys clearly have a collegiate level knowledge of wrestling, whereas for me it was, a small portion of what you lads were chatting about.
Yeah, a little bit of a generational difference between Trey and I.
Yep.
He's a little more 90s and early 2000s. I go back to the late 70s and 80s stuff. Clayton Kershaw and the end of an era coming in Los Angeles. Clayton Kershaw, one of the greatest left-handed pitchers in Major League Baseball history. There is no getting around it. I put him on my Dodgers Mount Rushmore, and I don't do that lightly because I know how many great players have played for that franchise through the years. But Clayton Kershaw, 222 wins, 96 losses. Think about how long Clayton Kershaw has been around in the league. This guy's got a career now that has spanned, how long has he been in the league? 17 years? 18 years? Something like that. The guy doesn't have 100 losses. Let that sink in for a minute. He's had one double-figure loss season in his entire career, and he lost 10 that year. I don't think he's ever had a losing record in a season, but you fact checkers out there, if you're scoring at home, you can check into that for me. But Clayton Kershaw says that at the end of this season, it's going to be over. He's one of those rare guys who only played for one team. Happens not often in this modern era of ours. And I think a little bit of emotion from Clayton Kershaw as he talked to the assembled media about the end of his career on the horizon. Let's take a listen.
My last thing is my favorite Bible verse. It's whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as you're working for the Lord, not for men. It's Colossians. And that's what I've tried to do. Just work at it. Just work at it and love it. And so I'm really not sad. I'm really at peace with this. It's just emotional, and I've tried to hold it together. I told our guys not to make it weird today. Because I was going to get weird if you make it weird, and here I am making it weird.
Yeah. Once you start talking about the weirdness, it only gets weirder, in my experience. Just in life, in general, whatever the situation. But we're going to see more Clayton Kershaw. It's not over just yet. The regular season still has I don't know. I think the Dodgers have about 10 games left to go on their regular season, and they plan to play well into the postseason in defense of their world championship, no doubt. So we will get to appreciate the fact that Clayton Kershaw will no longer be in the major leagues at the end of this season. Maybe a couple more vintage performances are in front of us. You know, the baseball playoff situation starting to become clearer as we look at the teams that have clinched. There are 3 teams that are in the playoffs right now. The Milwaukee Brewers, who have been dominating all year long. I've been there to American Family Field. I still want to call it Miller Park, but I've been there a couple of times over the course of the last few weeks, and the atmosphere there just electric. They've got fans that are rocking the mojo around this Brewers team. Of course, losing Bob Uecker. I don't know, man. Maybe Uke is going to be the angel in the outfield this year for the Milwaukee Brewers and put them over the top, send them to a first ever World Series championship. The Phillies, who are the NL East champions, or the presumptive NL East champions, they've already locked up a spot. And holy shit, the Chicago Cubs have locked up a spot as well. We've got some other teams that are bearing down on it. The Toronto Blue Jays, the Dodgers, the Tigers, the Yankees, and the Padres, all with a 97% or better chance of making the playoffs. So we're going to be seeing some teams clinching their spots and punching their tickets to the postseason in the coming days. Clayton Kershaw said, you know, he didn't want to make it weird. And then it got weird, got a little weird. It wasn't that weird, Clayton. But I'll tell you a man who has no problems with making it weird. In fact, it kind of seems like he's into it. I'm talking about former Buffalo Bills quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, who did this. Look, wow. Oh, well, you know what? Is that a dad bod? Is it fair to call, Tim, is it fair to call that a dad bod, or am I not giving him enough credit there?
A lot of hair.
For that?
I don't know. It's a lot of hair.
It's a lot of hair.
Yeah, it's dad bodish too, definitely.
Dad bodish. I mean, like, I'd kill for that body. Who am I lying to? But you know, he's on the side of, you know, realistic. You know what I mean? I look at some professional athletes and I'm like, well, there goes that guy. We're not even from the same species, apparently. But I see a guy like Fitzmagic there, and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe if I really lock in, I could at least get into the vicinity. Gives me hope.
He doesn't really look like a quarterback, though. He's a little thick for a quarterback, if you want to phrase it that way.
He is. He looks a little bit, it's almost like Conor McGregor-ish, too. Like McGregor, get back into training. McGregor, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know, what is he? He's like 65% Conor McGregor and 35% the lost Kelsey brother.
Great hair
there. But I was always a fan of that guy. You know, it seems like he played for 10 different teams through the years. I don't know how many teams he was actually on, but he was that guy for a while that if you needed a quarterback, hey, you know, let's hand the car keys to Ryan Fitzpatrick. We might still make the playoffs with that guy. You know, I said in the newsletter this week that the start of the Buffalo Bills season, very impressive there. And, you know, Fitzpatrick there ripping the shirt off for the Bills Mafia. He obviously was a good fit for that environment in Buffalo. Some of the best fans anywhere in professional sports. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that, you know, this year feels to me, look, I'm not a Bills fan. I like the Bills. They're just one of many teams that I appreciate. I have so many people tell me, you know, are you from Pittsburgh? What's your connection to this team? You know, Houston, were you from Texas? No, there's just teams that I like. I grew up in Kentucky. We didn't have any teams, really. And so I was just an appreciator of all things awesome. And so I'm a fan of Buffalo. I'm a fan of their fans, what that franchise has been through. Old Rich Stadium, Ralph Wilson Stadium, whatever the fuck they call it now, closing at the end of this season. And it feels just a little bit through 2 weeks of the year, now 3 after last night. This Buffalo team looks to me like they could be the number 1 seed, and the road to the Super Bowl is going to run through Orchard Park, New York this year. The road to the title of the best jerseys that any team in the NFL wears this year is going to run through Tampa Bay, however. We were talking yesterday about the New England Patriots breaking out the throwbacks this weekend. Well, have a look at this. Because the creamsicles are coming, motherfucker. And they're coming for you. This is another team that's off to a good start, and now they're bringing positive karma to the table here, and they're wearing the white ones. However, they're going to wear the creamsicles later this season, but these are the white jerseys, still just sharper than fucking anything else that you're going to see. Just look at them. Just look at them. Why would you ever change that? I don't know. Producer Tim confirming for me, by the way, that Ryan Fitzpatrick played for 9 teams during his journeyman NFL career. This weekend, I don't know. That's it. Really, most ever.
Yeah. So I'm going to
most ever?
I'm going to unmute. We're figuring out our dynamic today. No Ron and my producer Tim in your ear. Am I on? Yeah, he started for 9 teams, the most in the NFL history. Yeah, he's the only only player to have a passing touchdown with 8 different teams. So you're right. He definitely had a couple good runs there.
How about that? He did. He's underrated. You know, he's in the hall of very good. Just one of those guys that I don't know. He's Kirk Cousins. Is he on Kirk Cousins level, Tim? Kirk Cousins a level above Ryan Fitzpatrick?
I don't know. I feel like Fitzpatrick had a little more, whatever the it factor was. Cousins, you just sort of, you looked up and they won some game. I don't know if Fitzmagic really ran with it. I don't know. I felt like he did. And of course, he's got that Wonderlic thing, right? That he scored almost a perfect 50 coming from Harvard. Yeah.
Harvard graduate there, ripping his shirt off. That's a real renaissance man. You know, Tim, this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks today, my friends. You know, you and I make decisions every day. I make all kinds of decisions. I make good ones. I make bad ones. But you know what? When you're right on PrizePicks, you can win money. So don't miss any of the excitement this season. PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. And you know, it's fun. It's simple to play. There's no downside. I have won a decent chunk of change this season already myself with my picks. And all of your favorites are here every week. And I would encourage you to take advantage this week, as I have, of the max discount that's being offered on Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes this week, his less more is just 0.5, meaning that if Patrick Mahomes can get positive yardage through the air at all, even if that is a 1-yard screen pass before he goes down with a Lawrence Taylor crunchy fibula, you still are going to be right on Patrick Mahomes. So you're already on your way, and there's a lot of other tantalizing options on PrizePicks. You know, it's the best way to win cash this season. What can I tell you? I'm living proof. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and sit back and watch your correctness get turned into money. And the best part is you can use my code Ricky to sign up, and you will get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. It's as easy as that. You can get started with PrizePicks funds. It doesn't get better. Use my code Ricky, and you'll get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right and profitable, as the case is in this case. All right, my friends. Now, as Tim was alluding to, Ronnie T-Shirts is off somewhere doing other things. Ronnie T-Shirts, he's not going to give you 162, is he? He's not Cal Ripken Jr. You can't pencil Ronnie T-Shirts into the lineup every single day. He's like a platoon guy. He's going to give you about 120. I remember John Lowenstein and Gary Renicky sharing, what was it? Was it right field or left field for the 1983 Baltimore Orioles? So I don't know. Ronnie's not here today. Producer Tim is getting some at-bats. And Tim, it's a prestigious day for you to be sitting in the co-pilot's chair, because it's time for America's Poll of the Day, and let's go to it now at Super 70 Sports on X, where the eagle flies high, and it flies just a little bit higher when it's a Championship Friday. And this, my friends, is a showdown. Let's walk you back through this week, and you can see our winners from Monday through Thursday. And we had some dominant performances this week. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, our winners were all over 50%, beating the rest of the field combined. So they roll in here with great confidence today on Friday, and the fourth option got over 40%. So this may be the most dominant field of contenders we've ever seen on a Championship Friday. We begin with peanut butter and jelly, which was Monday's winner. On Tuesday, the winner was Johnny Carson. Wednesday, Nerf football. And yesterday, it was Reese's Pieces, who came in, with a challenge yesterday, Tim, from wastebasket three-pointers. So, Tim, here is the menu. Break it down for me as only you can.
Yeah, good foreshadowing, Ricky, for you with Johnny Carson. This was before any of the controversy with Kimmel and stuff yesterday, which was our thumbnail. We got a little shot of the thumbnail. People want to see it. If you haven't subscribed yet, get on it. Peanut butter and jelly, man. Yeah, there's the thumbnail from yesterday. Little Johnny, little Ricky. I think we love the avatar, Ricky. We should ask people about your avatar. Have we asked for the audience participation in your avatar? I want to try it.
I don't think we have,
yeah,
but we should. I like the avatar, Tim. The avatar just continues to grow on me.
Yeah, I wish I had
accurate.
one.
It's a little.
I wish I had one that I could put
up. It's a little accurate.
Up.
Well, we need to get you one, Tim.
Yeah,
sure
I don't have
up for
clearly defined look like you have. But listen, man, PB&J may run away with it. Nerf football. As I alluded to earlier in the week, it's just every stage of my life, it's been meaningful. Carson has its moments for sure. It was a big treat for me to be able to stay up and watch Johnny Carson. Now, of course, you can get it everywhere on TV Land and everything else. But I don't know, man. It's rare. We got the two food entrants here. I think I've seen Ronnie's pick. It's hard for me not to go, though, with Reese's Pieces. And, of course, we haven't had the whole pronunciation debate, right? Reese's Pieces, right? It's got the PCs in it.
There's no debate, Tim. It's just pieces.
Oh no, it was always
Reese's
Pieces. No, there was always that sort of alliteration, at least with my idiot friends. But that's going to get my vote. Unless, do you want to hear Ronnie's vote first? Ronnie was kind enough to take 17 seconds and leave us a little ditty.
Ronnie tried to keep his streak alive with a pinch hitting performance here today. I guess the judges will allow it. Let's go to the man who makes it swing here on the poll of the day. Break it down wherever you are, Ronnie T-shirts.
What's up, Ricky? I'm on my way to Salt Lake City for the big Utah-Texas Tech game, but I wanted to weigh in on the poll of the day. I'm going to make this easy. Peanut butter and jelly is my vote. All the other ones, they're great, but I'm going peanut butter and jelly. Have a great day.
There it is. Why is that funny to me?
Well, did you hear the announcement behind they were paging a passenger? I thought it was maybe Ron for a second, but it wasn't. Yeah.
Ron's gonna fucking miss his connection because he's breaking down how much he loves peanut butter and jelly. Tim, here, just analytically, is there gonna be like a peanut butter vote? Is it gonna split? Is that gonna give Johnny Carson the opportunity as the peanut butter loyalist split their vote between PCs and
There you go. You got PCs.
I think
you said it.
Maybe
you said PCs.
Well, I said it for you. Tim. I'm trying to speak your language.
Jared, did you ever call it
weird
PCs?
Northeastern buddies.
It was never a PCs. All right, I'm gonna peruse the comments today to see if anyone else shared that mispronunciation. But I don't know. It's a great point.
I'm not here to judge you, Tim. I just never heard.
It may splinter the vote. It may splinter the vote. Recency bias with Carson may swing it. I have not seen today's poll at all, so I'm flying blind. I'm going Reese's Pieces. Final answer.
It didn't feel right, did it? I feel like I took something away from you. Don't let me cast a pall over your PCs. I'm gonna go with Carson. Nerf football second for me. So But I got to go with Johnny Carson here. I mean, he was a huge influence on me growing up, expanded my horizons growing up as a kid in rural Kentucky. I think a lot of my comedic sensibilities began with Johnny Carson. So I owe him a little something, I think. So let's see what we get. Nobody knows here, Tim nor I.
Yeah, I have not seen this one.
And we got a close one.
Nerf football and
I think
Carson.
the peanut butter lobby may have been split, Tim. And we've got Johnny Carson at 32%, Nerf football at 31.3. So a scant 0.7% difference here today between Johnny Carson and Nerf football. We will have to keep an eye on that. That's what, over 3,500 votes cast. Too close to call, Tim, is what I'm saying here.
Very astute, very astute breakdown. You're right. The peanut butter lobby sort of split there.
Yeah. They opened the door for Carson and Nerf. I feel like whoever loses today, really has earned a spot in the tit. But of course, that is at your discretion, sir. It is the Tim Invitational Tournament.
Yes.
Which I don't know. That's got to be coming up in the not
long overdue. Yes.
future. Well, Tim is. Yeah. I think we're getting close to time. We probably have enough entrants now for a compelling first ever tit. Tim, as we said at the beginning of the show, today's topic is Looney Tunes cartoons. So I want to run through some of the greatest hits in the history of Super 70s, because if you are a Gen X kid, probably if you're a millennial as well, Looney Tunes had an impact on your life. They just did. And how about this right here? This is a Foghorn Leghorn comment, but I said my generation grew up drinking out of glasses with Foghorn Leghorn and a fucking bomb on them. We didn't have time to be triggered. We didn't have time for safe spaces. There was too much dangerous shit waiting outside for us to do. That's basically what it is. We would come in from jumping things like Evel Knievel, narrowly skirting emergency room visits, or at least something that would require your mother to pour an industrial-sized bottle of hydrogen peroxide on it, or maybe, God forbid, they had to get out the mercurochrome or whatever it was called. But, it was a dangerous time, and we weren't worried about stuff like this. Take a look at this. I've never believed the argument that violent television shows cause violent behavior. Because kids of my era saw more shit get detonated than the Taliban's kids. And most of us have stayed out of prison up until now. Wile E. Coyote would basically kill himself about 2 or 3 times every cartoon, but he would pop right back up and go after the Roadrunner again. It was a different era. These were cartoons. And again, somebody was getting a fucking gun pointed at them in about every second or third Looney Tunes cartoon. How about these guys, though? It was always a great day whenever these sweet bastards showed up in a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Was that, I think the little guy, his name was Lefty, I think. All right, Rabbit. I can't even do the imitation, but if you remember him, you very well remember how he sounded. And then the big guy was just like, durr. Legends is what they were. They weren't even in very many. Elmer Fudd, don't even get me started on Elmer Fudd. Elmer Fudd was blasting Daffy Duck's bill around to the back of his head and everything else. And Elmer Fudd also taught me culture. As I said, growing up in Horse Cave, Kentucky, who do you think that I learned about opera from? I learned it from Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny. That's how I was exposed to Wagner for the first time. You are so lovely. And then Bugs Bunny says, yes, I know it. I can't help it. See? I know culture. And this right here might be my favorite Bugs Bunny cartoon of all time, actually. And I've always said it. When you're talking about the most effective dominant pitches ever, I'm coming at you with Bugs Bunny's powerful, paralyzing, perfect pachydermis percussion pitch. Because the Gas House Gorillas could not handle it. simply unhittable. The only other pitch that's even in the conversation is Mariano Rivera's cutter. I'll give the edge to Bugs Bunny slightly. And how about this sweet bastard, by the way? We all know Speedy Gonzalez. Underlay, Arriba. He was a fast motherfucker. But do you remember his cousin, Slowpoke Rodriguez? When you're talking about underrated Looney Tunes characters, yeah, that's right. I'm coming to the table with Slowpoke Rodriguez. Hey, senor. I'm very slow today, senor. Remember this bastard? Homeless, probably. He's got all of his world's possessions at the end of a stick like a fucking hobo. Love that guy. He was outstanding. There's so many good ones. I don't know. Who do I want to go to? Who do we have next? Yeah, okay. Well, here's a general statement. I believe this, too. Kids who watched Looney Tunes cartoons grew up to be better adults. Because we grew up in an era where there wasn't as much stuff that was made for children. We didn't have any Dora the Explorer shit, really. Did we? We didn't have, like, Arthur. We didn't have these shows that were made for, like, really small kids generally. Cartoons were intended to entertain adults. The Looney Tunes cartoons were shown in movie theaters. You'd go in and you'd see Bugs Bunny for 10 minutes or whatever before the movie started. And the reason that these cartoons were so fucking funny is they weren't made for kids. They weren't dumbed down to try to entertain a bunch of 6-year-olds. So if you were a 6-year-old watching, you had to figure out what was going on and try to keep up. Just like I used to read Sports Illustrated when I was a kid rather than Sports Illustrated for kids. And I think I'm better off for it. And can I shout out this sweet bastard? I'm a cat guy. I'm a sweet cat bastard is what my girlfriend says. It's not said enough, but Sylvester was a good father. He's a fucking tomcat with a slew of personal problems. Nobody really expected this level of involvement, and yet there he is, actively participating in his son's life. And I commend him for it. There's a lot of deadbeat dads in the alley cat community. And everybody knows it. So shout out to Sylvester for taking a break between trying to eat Tweety to be a dad. And then how about these sweet bastards? Morning Ralph. Morning Sam. They would just clock in and proceed to go at it all day long. Trying to eat the sheep, trying to save the sheep, and then at the end of the day, they would clock out and they were buddies again. There was something beautiful about that. I never could quite figure out if he was Wile E. Coyote's alter identity or what was going on there exactly. But how about this? I could figure this out when I was a kid. Pepe Le Pew. That amorous motherfucker. Dad, what kind of cartoon is that? Well, son, this one's about a skunk that wants to fuck everybody. Is it as good as it sounds? Better. Pepe Le Pew, what's the guy going to do? He had a high sex drive. He was charming. He was used to lady skunks being receptive to his advances. Didn't realize that it was a cat, which was a problem. Yeah. So think about it. Maybe in this era, as a parent, maybe you need to let your kids watch some Looney Tunes cartoons. If you've got a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, they haven't been exposed to all of this great shit. My advice, hey look, I'm not Dr. Spock, but my advice, let them watch some Looney Tunes cartoons. I think it'll do them some good. Let's talk about football picks here. I am behind Ronnie, unfortunately, 2 weeks into this year. I don't want to dig myself too much of a hole here because, as we have talked about, the stakes are high. The loser is going to have to wear an Angel Reese piece of merchandise for an entire episode, and I don't know how I feel about sitting at this desk wearing Angel Reese merch, so I'm going to have to pick it up. Tim, you're Ronnie's mouthpiece today. Let's take a look at Ronnie's picks and see what see what he's doing here. As I believe I'm 2 games behind him at this point. Ronnie is 5-3. And so let's take a look. We can see here he's going to be given 5.5 with the Falcons.
I don't like that
in Carolina.
I don't like the Cowboys bet either.
Take me through it.
Yeah, I don't know about the Cowboys bet either. Against your Bears there. Eagles, that feels like probably the best game of the week. He likes the Eagles, obviously. Just given 3.5. And boy, I don't know. We need to maybe check on Ron if he really is figuring out a Jaguars Texans game to pick. Maybe there's smart money there and I don't know it, but boy, you couldn't pay me to bet on that one. He likes the Jaguars.
Well, you can see here. Yes, shout out to Charles C.W. Cook, our friend. Well, look, the Cowboys are going to be given 1.5 in Chicago. The Jaguars giving 1.5 at home in Jacksonville, and Ronnie is going to be giving Lori 1.5 at some point this weekend in Seattle, Tim. So I think that's the theme.
Centimeters or
he is, of course. Yes, he is, of course, on his micro penis journey, which stops off. No, it's in Salt Lake City. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think he's. Yes, it'll be in Salt Lake City where he gives 1.5 to Lori on the road there. So available at fine book stores everywhere. Let's get a look at mine. You're not going to like one of my picks either, Tim, because I also, the one overlap pick that we have this week.
You're betting against your Bears?
I like the Cowboys. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games where you've got like 2 franchises that you don't believe in.
Yeah.
And so you're like, who do I believe in less?
That's a low total.
Easy as a Bears fan.
Yeah, 1.5. Boy, that should be a lot. Seems like that should be a lot bigger than 1.5 based on how well the Cowboys. I know it was the Giants, so but maybe that's it. They needed overtime to beat the Giants, so maybe that's where they're coming from.
1.5. It's practically pick 'em. And I'm just not going to pick the Bears to win because at least the Cowboys, I don't know, man. I can see a path for the Cowboys. I could see the Cowboys making the playoffs potentially, even without Micah Parsons. But the Bears they look like they're dead on arrival. We are going to completely differ. There's going to be something that's going to happen on that Carolina game because I'm actually going to take the points there with Michael Penix Jr. on the road at Carolina. I like the Chiefs laying 6.5 at the Meadowlands, Tim. I know the Chiefs are off to a bad start. I certainly can't see the Chiefs losing that game. If they lose that game, then it's time to start pressing the panic button in Kansas City. Absolutely.
Because they have the Ravens next.
I think they can beat them by a touchdown.
Yeah, after the Giants, they're staring at a loss to the Ravens. So, good Lord, you start 0-4. No, I'm with you, man. They start 0-3, real panic mode. I think that's a good bet. The Giants have been sort of, Jekyll and Hyde a little bit. Their offense getting going there. And look, even I take it back. The Ravens Lions is probably, for me as a fan, is probably the game that I want to see the most. Our Dan Campbell's boys for real.
That game, that could be a Super Bowl preview. I mean, it could be because I think they're probably each of those teams are in the top 3 teams in their respective conferences. And the Lions looked like the Lions last week. I know they were playing the Bears,
right?
But the Lions looked like last year's Lions.
Could the Ravens come out and put up 30 on them and destroy the Lions? And we'll see.
Yeah, I like the Ravens to win the game by more than 4.5. So we'll see what happens. But something's going to happen in Carolina because we have a disagreement there. I'm going to ride with Bryce Young, which is. I don't know. Now that I say that, maybe I'm already having regrets, Tim. Let's take a look at poll replies here on Championship Friday and see what the Super 70 Sports Nation has to say about this one. And Johnny Carson is opening up the lead here. Over 5,200 votes cast at this moment, and he's now at 33.1%. That is a 2.2% lead over Nerf football. It was less than a percentage point earlier in the show. So I think we're probably pretty safe in saying that the king of late night is going to be going to the Why Not tournament. The Moops says it's hard to understand what Johnny Carson meant until you see where we've gone without him. Very well said. Late night television of this era, I was talking about it on the program, just yesterday. Late night television in this country is not what it once was. It used to be a place where everybody could congregate, and it became exclusionary as time went on. Rex Crum says Johnny Carson remains the Ted Williams of late night hosts. Today's guys aren't even on the level of Crash Davis. The more that time goes on, the greater Johnny Carson looks. He stands a little bit taller as we watch late night descend into, I don't know what it is at this point, to be quite honest with you. It's a chaotic mess at the moment. Malls says it's PB&J, the staple of all staples, for fuck's sake. And Rick says, man, I could toss those Nerf footballs. Maybe you could turst them too. Throw them over a mountain, in fact. Right over them mountains. You could throw it over the mountains if you had a turbo football. I'll tell you that. I was stretching defenses like Dan Marino. Or even Dan Marino. I think it's a good time that the show is ending because it seems that I might be having a mini stroke, folks. I'll have to get my vitals checked. I'm losing the ability to speak. So maybe a nice time to dive into the weekend, head first here and cannonball into it. My thanks, as always, to everyone who is a part of our show family. Thanks to Ronnie T-Shirts, first of all, for chiming in for 17 seconds so that he can get in the box score today. We appreciate that. My appreciation as well to Trey Wallace for a fun conversation about pro wrestling and the WWE ESPN Alliance. My thanks to Molly and Colin in Nashville, to P.A. Jarrett and producer Tim, and most of all to you, you sweet bastards, because you're the reason that we do this, and you're the reason that it's so much fun. And I love you for that. You better believe it. You can find us, as always, at Fox Nation, outkick.com, and on YouTube at the Ricky Cobb Show channel. That is our new channel. Head to YouTube now. Don't even wait. Go to YouTube, sign up, subscribe, The Ricky Cobb Show on YouTube. You won't miss anything when you do that. You can also catch us in podcast form on Apple and Spotify, and our content is out there waiting for you like a bowl of Grandma's chicken soup whenever you want it on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X as well, where you will also find me at Super 70 Sports. Drop by this weekend, pay me a visit. It gets lonely when you don't. You don't want me to be sitting over there tweeting like the Maytag repairman now, do you? So I hope that you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy it. Enjoy your families. Enjoy your friends. Get outside. Enjoy the weather while we have some fall in the air, depending upon where you are in this country. Enjoy football, and let's make a deal that we'll meet right back here again on Monday when we will help you get your weekend started early and get it started right with another episode of The Ricky Cobb Show.